Good evening. This is Mark from the Reasonable Programs by Tom Cassidy, and I felt a feeling, and I've been having a discussion with Naya from the group, and Naya is a person who I feel has a really good message, and she's really been having some really good connections, and I've been really doing a lot of thinking. And, staying in a moment to moment, about observing my thoughts and where I am at each moment. And one thing that, came to me, and we see it, or I see it in life, and there's this thing about, well, maybe, or I'll be happy when I have that job, or I'll be happy when I have that car, I'll be happy when I have that house. Right? How do you relate to that?
Well, I relate in terms of knowing what that feels like. Certainly, been there. Even within the last 24 hours, I'm sure I had those thoughts. But here's the thing, right? If we're setting up these sort of signposts, these markers along a linear path, in other words, you need to get from point A, which is here, to point B, which is way over there. Then that's something that is done, in what we call the competitive plane, i.e., it's me versus everyone else, and I'm trying to get to a certain place because I have to, because it is what is done, or it's going to be the right thing. It's going to make me feel good. Well, the thing is, so you're pushing all of the goodness and awesomeness and peace and tranquility and awareness that you already have within you to this nebulous somewhere else. It's not even the future. It's just this somewhere else. It's not outside of you. And you're taking all these external messages saying you have to have the right car, you have to have the right job, you have to have the right big house, you got to be married, you got to have kids, whatever it is. I mean, everybody's got their own list of must-haves, should-haves. If only I did have, I would be, and fill in the blank kind of thing. Yeah. So I mean, that's sort of where. The thing is, if you can disconnect the messages, the external messages, from what you feel, if you can just sort of sit with yourself, and I could stop right there because, of course, just sitting with yourself is a whole topic in and of itself. I mean, how do you do that when you're so you're so used to leading this forward linear, time passing life. In fact, the other day I was leaving home and I said, I'm off to the races, which is, one of those cliched expressions or whatever. And it occurred to me when I said that, I'm like, well, I was being silly, of course, but on the other hand, it's kind of like I'm reinforcing this message that we all are sort of immersed in this culture, which is that, you're supposed to be busy, you're supposed to be doing things, you're supposed to have a job, you're supposed to, and if you're busy at your job, well, great, that means, you're doing the right thing, and, you're moving forward, and you're moving up in the ladder, the whatever it is, So in other words, getting back to my original point, which is that just sitting with yourself, just being, and exploring your feelings and noticing your feelings and trying to figure out what you would choose. Do you choose to put all of your emotional energy into getting the right car or the right job, whatever that means? If that's what you choose, well, that's one thing. But if it isn't, if that's not where your intuition is leading you, then you got to sort of shift things a bit. Well, see, there it is again. I'm throwing in the got to. You don't have to do anything. Okay, you don't have to do anything other than to be you, to be the best you, which is the you that is now. In other words, there is no future you. There's you right now. And the you right now is comprised of all of the past yous and the future yous. And that's just mind-blowing right there, because it's like we're trained to think, well, first of all, we're trained to think that our identities, who I am is one singular, physical body, that's born and then dies. And, so the who I am is in between those 2 points. And obviously in some traditions, obviously there are other expanded visions of this, but in general, there's this concept that there's a singular entity that is Naya, that is Mark, but that's not really consistent with what we currently know about the way the universe works. You've got atoms communicating with each other across vast distances. What does that mean? Well, it means that it's not as simple as it sounds. It's not as simple as you are Mark and I'm Naya when we're connected. We're all connected, So if we're all connected, and I'm not just the singular body that's, that's here, or that I perceive anyway, then that means that there's so much more information that we could be connecting into. There's so much more to the way things are, to the way things could be. Our perceptions, they are what they are. But if you think about things in this way, then you realize there's so much more that we could be taking in. There's so much more that we are taking in, but we're not paying attention to. That just all of the things that we experience, some of it we notice and some of it we don't. Some of it our bodies just simply take it in terms of who we're around, what we're reading, what we're thinking. I mean, there's so many different things that are happening nowhere near us in space or time, for that matter, are impacting us right now. So anyway, so if you put all those, if you think about these things and you sort of say, okay, well that's different, but how does that impact my day-to-day life? Well, first of all, it impacts your day-to-day life however you want it to. That's the first thing. And then the next thing is it allows you to free yourself from the shoulds and the musts and all those things, because it tells you that there's this vast web of possibility that we all exist within. You like to think of, oh, I've got a path, I have a journey, I'm me now, and then there's going to be me in the future. Well, it's really not. It's not necessarily that simple. Which isn't to say that it's complex, as in it's complicated, but it's complex in the sense that there's so many different ways of describing it, of thinking about it, because I don't think we can use just words to sort of describe and explain how everybody is connected and what that means, and what we're moving towards or what we're already at. I don't think we can fully explain all of these things. And if we can't fully explain all of these things, then that should free you, because it says, okay, well, I've got the information that I think that I have. I've got the perceptions that I think that I'm perceiving, and all of these are leading me to believe that I need X, Y, or Z. Okay, fine. So pay attention to that, and, notice what that feels like for you. In your present reality, in your present perceptions, what does that feel like? And if you can sort of do that, it sort of opens you up. You know what I mean, Mark? And it opens you up to accept more possibilities, to accept more interpretations of the information that you're already getting.
I do.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So I have a question to ask you, Nye, because this is something that a lot of people, I mean, even I think about. And the thing is, there's a thing that I kind of like picked up.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the saying of opportunity passing you by,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
something else came up, and you passing by the opportunity. Which one is, would you say, is more correct, or either or both correct?
Well, I would say that, well, define. First of all, I would say define correct. Like, I mean, any of those interpretations is probably useful for someone. Okay, all I can speak to is what's useful for me, and what I'll tell you what's useful for me in that particular context, which is to think, okay, so there may or may not, right, have been an opportunity of some particular shape and form. I mean, whatever it is. I mean, you could fill in the gap, fill in the blanks there. So first of all, it didn't exist, right? It's something that I'm creating in my mind as a possibility. And guess what? When I create it in my mind as a possibility, then it exists in a way, okay, already. But if that does not come to be, then I'll tell you something. There's information. It gets right back to this whole thing about all the information that we take in, and some of it we pay attention to, and some of it we don't. Some of it we understand, and some of it we don't. If that opportunity that I thought, here, this is it. This is what I should be doing. It would be great if this happens, and I put all my effort into making this happen, and then it doesn't happen. Well, what that means is when I thought I saw the big opportunity, the thing, or maybe I said, this is my vision, I'm going to put all my emotional energy towards this vision, and then the vision doesn't happen. Well, that means that there's something I'm missing, which isn't a bad thing. It's just saying your perception, your awareness can be expanded. So you expand it. You say, oh, okay, so that didn't work. Okay. So let's take a look again and see what's there, because it could be that, I mean, you can frame it however is useful, but I mean, the bottom line here is that we're all on different paths, and yet on the same path at the same time. I mean, because it's sort of this web of all of our experiences, and so there is no, I mean, if your mindset is linear, then you think you're destined to be somewhere, whether you use that terminology or not. If your mindset is linear, i.e. birth to death, here to there, then you're trying to figure out, well, what am I supposed to be doing? What will I be when I grow up? Where am I going? What is the big opportunity that's down the road? But what if there is no down the road? What if down the road is here already?
That's true. Like,
so yes, go ahead.
Okay. You get the train.
I have the train?
Yes. You get the thought train.
I got the thought train. Yes, I got the thought train. Well, it's this, I keep going back to the linear thinking, which, and maybe it sounds like I'm saying it's a bad thing. I'm not. I'm just saying that we can expand the way that we perceive things if we're not so wedded to the concept that things are linear, that, that there's something down the road. Because if you're busy thinking about the opportunities that are to come, then you're missing out on what's happening already. So I'm not saying you shouldn't have visions. Of course you should have visions. The only thing is, you got to keep in mind that your vision that you're creating is based on the information that you have currently, or whenever you created the vision anyway. And and then I have to modify that one more time and say it's based on the information that you were able to process at that time. I can't even say that you were conscious of, because there's information you're unconsciously processing. But even when you add that stuff in, there's still a whole lot of information that you just can't handle. I mean, the mind can only handle so much, and the mind can handle a lot more than you think it can. So, there's still a lot left. So what I'm saying is, you work with what you got, and you come up with what you get. And whatever you come up with is fine. That's you. And so when we get to the, oh, that didn't happen for me, therefore, something is wrong, then you're not noticing the fact that you're already where you're supposed to be. Because, and this is not a fate thing. This is you are. This is a being thing. You're a human being. You're being. And you have to be in order to do, right? So you're going to be present, and you're going to notice. You're going to notice who you are, how you feel. What kind of experiences are you having, and how are those impacting who you are, how you feel, these kinds of things, And, it is helpful for some people to say, okay, well, if I didn't get the opportunities I thought was coming, then that means something better is coming down the road. I think that's great. That is certainly absolutely a helpful way to think about it. But I think that still holds to the linear mindset, which, again, is not a bad thing at all. It's just, it does set you up for, if you focus on this, I mean, time is a construct, okay? We created over the, humanity created this, we needed to define the passage of change, basically. It's change, that's what it is, it's change. Things change. And we needed some way to sort of structure that and understand it and define it. So next, you have all these different systems of measuring time, which is actually just measuring change. But the thing is, that pushed us to thinking in a linear way. So we think that change is a forward, is from here to there. You move forward, right? You can't go backward. Well, the thing is, people were always like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could time travel? Well, technically, you're time traveling every day, every moment. Why? And I'll tell you why. Because it's all already here. It's all here. Every experience you've ever had is here right now. I mean, maybe that's a little freaky because you don't want to necessarily relive every single experience you've ever had. But you don't. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're experiencing all those things. I'm saying that that's part of who you are. Every cell in your body, which is new as of the last moment and the last moment before that. I mean, you're new every moment. But anyway, every cell in your body has, it's been impacted by all of your experiences. Therefore, all of those experiences are part of who you are. And if the past is in you, which is what I'm saying, well, that's sort of, then that means that things aren't, it isn't a matter of, oh, my past self did this or my past self was like this. It's more like it's a state of flux. It's this dynamic transformation and change, yes, but it's change that changes both the past and the future and the present all at once.
That was very lovely, Naya. Naya.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
The saying goes, now, which saying resonates with you?
Mm-hmm.
What comes around, goes around, or what goes around, comes around?
You're asking which one of those resonates with me?
Yes.
What goes around comes around? What comes around goes around?
Yeah.
Why do I have to choose? Can I have both?
It's your floor.
I'm taking them. I'm taking them both, man.
I'm just bringing out some breakthroughs, so some downloads for you.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, I definitely, I think in terms of cycles, and I guess I've always, in some sense, because I remember when I was a kid, I liked to doodle, and I would draw these little circles going around and around, and spirals. I love spirals. But I think that any way that you can envision yourself as being part of a larger web of connections that flows in multiple ways. I mean, your experiences impact other people's experiences, and their experiences impact your experiences, and it's just this constant back and forth, and not just constant but continuous. I like to think of it as a feedback cycle. There's a little bit of feedback on the line to begin with.
Now, would you mind sharing, or if it's comfortable, like what it is you do for a living professionally in real life?
In real life, yeah, I don't mind at all. So my day job, as it were, is I'm the lab manager and greenhouse supervisor at Hampshire College, which is a liberal arts school in Amherst, Massachusetts, and then outside of that, I both write creatively and I'm an editor for a publishing house, and then I'm part of this mastermind group, which is also part of my existence and I wouldn't call it a job, of course, but it's certainly very, very integral to my daily experience.
Can you share what type of stuff that you write?
Sure, of course. So I have a book that was published on natural skincare. It's called Mindful Beauty is in Your Hands, and that sort of went along with, came out of workshops that I used to do called Lotions and Potions, and I did those for various age of kids in the schools. Well, not in the school. They came to Hampshire College, actually. And so I would run these workshops and teach the kids how to make their own lotions. And, through that, they learned all manner of other things. But that program ended, and so I had all this sort of energy and information that I wanted to do something with. So I was approached by a publisher to, consider putting this stuff together as a book, and so I did that anyway. And I called it Mindful Beauty is in Your Hands because it's sort of I was thinking of it as connected to I have sort of a brand, if you will, a business, because I used to make lotions and sell them and other body care products, all natural. Started that because allergies that I get, and also in my family in general. So trying to figure out, what are the things in some of these products that we use on a daily basis that are, possible allergens and toxic in other ways. And so then I ended up creating my own body care products, and the brand was Mindful Beauty. That has since sort of morphed because I want to do more writing. I want to do more wellness writing. You can call it whatever you want, self-help, wellness, health, whatever. And, right now I'm working on a book that is, it's about mindfulness and resiliency and decision-making. And at this point, it might actually, I intend to write several more, of course, but I think already I've got material to write this moment, which is pretty cool. But I have to sort of have to sift through everything. But I also write fiction, and I tend to write science fiction. So.
That's really awesome, Naya.
Thank you.
That's so. You are living your vision in your day-to-day life. It appears to me. And do you mind sharing part of what your vision looks like, or is there a site that you have in terms of what your vision is?
Well, so my vision. Well, it's interesting because my vision keeps shifting and morphing based on the conversations that we have in the mastermind group and just general daily experiences. And so I have, I've had various different visions, if you will. At this point, I'm thinking, okay, so basically my vision is to keep doing what I'm doing. Okay, and that sounds so incredibly fluffy in some contexts, but that's because on the competitive plane that, you need to have a vision that, uses words and, use bullet points. and I can do that. I can totally do that. In fact, I have done it. But I'm trying to, I'm sort of shifting over to a focus of, yes, that is one of millions of other possibilities. And whatever I've written, which actually needs to be changed, but what I have written it resonates with my intuition, it resonates with who I am right at this moment, but I'm guessing that in the next couple moments, or, those moments or minutes or days or weeks or years, whatever, that vision's going to shift, it's going to change, it's going to respond to the experiences that I'm having. So that's actually, it's funny that you asked this, because I think that's even more comprehensive of an answer to your question about what happens if the opportunity that you thought coming to you didn't come. It's basically this concept of things keep changing. Just there's no one clear vision. Oh, but I will say this much. I want to keep doing what I'm doing, which is, just paying attention to what's around me, connecting when I have the energy to connect in a way that I am able to. Sometimes I have more energy than others. Sometimes I'm more social than others. The mastermind is like you come and go when you can, and you just either you share, you listen. No matter what, you're gonna the energy is being shared. We had this conversation just a few minutes ago, not that long ago. It's like you can read the post, and through reading the post, learn things, gain energy, living energy. Sort of, so how do you give energy when you're reading something? Well, because your mind is, you're focusing your energies on somebody else's words. So they're not necessarily in the room with you. Almost certainly, probably. But because we're all connected, that energy is flow between objects. So that's something.
Well, Naya, it's funny because we have similarities, a lot of similarities. I am, writing, slowly but surely writing. I do have aspirations to do some fictional, science fiction stuff as well. I like stuff that makes you think in a certain way, and I like stuff that challenges who we are. And we're doing this Greater Life for All project, and I could definitely see a lot of contributions coming from you. So I'm going to leave this chat with some a closing remark from Naya, and what I'm going to have you do here, Naya, is I'm going to have you tell somebody, or you're not like tell somebody, but just, in a few words, just describe somebody what, happiness, feels like at this very moment to you.
So I'm describing what happiness feels like to me at this moment.
At this very moment.
Oh, wow. Okay. So happiness to me at this moment feels like peace, and it also feels like dancing, just to the liveliest music you can think of, and sweating and singing and just letting my body be. And it also feels like gratitude. Like I'm thankful for everything. Everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. I'm grateful for my life, which means that I have to include in that, well, I do include in that the so-called good and the so-called bad. And that to me, coming to that place of being grateful for everything, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, happiness is the best way that I could possibly describe it. It's not. It's such a complex mix of emotions and awareness, but happiness, it's good. It makes my primitive self think with something that is happy enough. So that's what I've got.
Well, I just want to close. I really do appreciate you being on this impromptu, unscripted chat about feeling. And what brought me to do this is just basically the fact that I, believe that what I am doing right now is living my mission and my purpose. And I'm grateful and happy for and experiencing it. And for other people that are listening, pay attention to your moments that you're in and be in a moment. Because being in a moment and living in a moment and feeling a moment is when you could actually experience and express yourself and feel gratitude. Because the whole thing is, if we can't feel happiness, gratitude, or appreciation in the now, then how are we going to know when we get that car, that house, that job, if that's going to give us happiness if we don't know what it is right now? So this is what the purpose of this call was, is to let you know that we are in a moment right now experiencing happiness and gratitude for who we are right now. And in order to do that, you can open yourself up to more. And when you do see it, you will realize that it actually is. And it's an inside job. It's not the house, the car, or the job, or the girlfriend, or the boyfriend. It's within all of us. And that's the message that we're trying to get out. And I wish everybody the best, and especially to Naya, because she is a very bold, brave, and most awesome young lady. And she is definitely inspiration to a lot of people in her words, both spoken and written, and in her actions as well. So this is just a live chat, signing off. And you want to say good night to the world?
Good night. I love you all.
All right, signing off.
Okay.